It's no surprise that a kid like Patti eventually found a book that changed everything. When she discovered Illuminations by Arthur Rimbaud, it wasn't just inspiration, it was ignition. Suddenly, her scattered instincts, her poetry, her restless longing, all found a compass. Yet life wasn't gentle with her. At 19, she became pregnant and made the crushing decision to give her child up for adoption. In the memoir, she handles this moment with striking restraint. No dramatics, no pleas for sympathy, just quiet truth. It's a kind of privacy that feels almost radical in the social media age. But what really matters is what happens after. How she gathers herself, leaves her small world behind, and heads for New York. She had no money, no plan, but she had need. The kind that propels prophets and poets into the unknown. Imagine opening a book and feeling it breathe, as if every sentence holds a pulse. Every memory glows like a match struck in the dark. That's what Patti Smith does in her new memoir, Bread of Angels. A work that doesn't just tell a life story, but almost sings it into being. Before you even realize it, you're pulled into her world of wild imagination, quiet rebellions, and the stubborn fire that shaped her into one of the most distinctive artistic spirits of our time. Today, we're diving into this life-affirming gospel according to Patti Smith. Her hardships, her triumphs, her losses, and the sense of wonder she somehow never lets go of. Stay with me, because this isn't just a biography review. This is a journey through the making of an artist who never stopped believing in the magic of living. From the beginning, Patti Smith wasn't simply a child. She was a spark looking for fuel. She devoured books the way other kids inhaled candy, pulling ideas into herself like oxygen. She questioned God, questioned the universe, questioned everything adults insisted was fixed. Growing up in poverty, bouncing between homes, and suffering through illness after illness didn't dim her brightness. It intensified it. Fevers only made her visions stranger, sharper. She formed fierce little gangs with her siblings, weaving elaborate stories that pulled them into mysterious new worlds. She collected talismans, followed superstitions, and built a private mythology long before she built a career. Even then, she wasn't preparing to be a star. She was preparing to be an artist, someone who would live a life stitched together by curiosity, defiance, and spiritual hunger. New York doesn't open its arms easily, but it opened to Patti in the way it sometimes opens to people meant to reshape its soundscape. She falls into a creative orbit. Robert Mapplethorpe, the photographer who becomes her soulmate in everything but title. Lenny Kaye, the guitarist who helps electrify her poetry. Sam Shepard, Bob Dylan, a constellation of artists burning toward their own revolutions. She begins reading her poetry aloud with Kaye behind her, their partnership slowly transforming into a band. Then comes Horses, her debut album, a raw and improvisational masterpiece that still sounds like a door kicking open. Its release changed the landscape instantly, but Patti rushes through this part in her memoir, impatient to reach something deeper than fame. And that's where the next chapter of her life rises, unexpectedly gentle, profoundly human. While the world expected Patti to charge forward with the ferocity of a rebel queen, she instead turned towards something quieter. Love. She met Fred Sonic Smith, the MC5 guitarist whose spirit matched hers, not by mirroring her intensity, but balancing. And here's the twist. She stepped away from the stage, walked out on the mythology others had started building around her, and chose marriage and motherhood. The press mocked her for it, trying to frame her as domesticated, diminished. But in her telling, this period wasn't retreat, it was renewal. After a brutal stage injury and a growing disdain for the music industry's demands, she needed a different life. Love, writing, and family grounded her in ways that amplified her inner world rather than shrinking it. But life, as it often does for the most perceptive souls, brought Patti a lifetime's worth of heartbreak in a few short years. Death became her shadow. First, Robert Mapplethorpe, her lifelong artistic twin, died. Then Fred. Then her brother Todd. Then her parents. The losses lined up like cruel chapters in a book no one would choose to write. She was widowed at 47, carrying the weight of grief that could have easily collapsed her. Yet she didn't break. She stumbled. She paused. But she didn't surrender. There is a quiet strength in her words when she recounts this era. She does not dramatize it. She simply lives through it again on the page, revealing how grief can carve a deeper vessel for compassion and connection. And somehow, through all that sorrow, Patti returned to the stage, not as the punk priestess the world remembered, but as something more expansive, an elder vagabond poet who had walked through fire and made peace with the ashes. Audiences embraced her everywhere she went. Her presence became mythic, not because she tried to be mystical, but because she was simply honest, grounded, and fiercely alive. What's remarkable in her memoir is how she portrays this return. Not a comeback, but a continuation. Her life had been a loop of art, love, death, and rebirth, and now everything she had lived began to fold into itself. She wasn't chasing success anymore. She was honoring a calling that had never stopped whispering to her. In the later chapters, Patti writes with a looseness that feels dreamlike, as if time dissolves and past and present waltz together. Literally waltz. She recalls dancing down a motorway with her husband, a moment so strange and beautiful that she still feels it happening now, decades later. She suggests that time isn't linear for her anymore. All moments coexist. Childhood illnesses, nights in New York, births, deaths, stages, notebooks, talismans, prayers. And as she moves through them, she arrives at insights that feel almost holy. She sees her life as a series of revelations, small and large, as if the universe keeps handing her clues about how to remain awake, curious, and grateful even as the years pile on. What makes this memoir so powerful is that Patti is acutely aware of the world she came from and the world she's exiting. She's part of a dying breed, she writes. The kids who spent their days outdoors, who loved books with obsessive devotion, who fell in love deeply instead of ironically. She mourns what she sees today, a culture where love is minimized, where intimacy is a joke, where relationships are treated like content instead of sacred bonds. She isn't bitter, but she is honest, and in that honesty lies something hopeful. She reminds us that love can still be profound, friendship can still be transformative, and art can still be a lifeline, even if the world rushes forward without noticing. And that's the heart of Patti Smith's gospel, the belief that life, even with its tragedies and interruptions, can be luminous if we stay open to wonder. Her memoir isn't a victory lap or a diary of achievements. It's a roadmap for how to be fully human in a world that keeps trying to flatten us. She invites us to embrace our strangeness, protect our inner fire, and treasure the people who shape our stories. She shows us that grief doesn't end joy, love doesn't limit freedom, and age doesn't dim the imagination. If anything, it sharpens it. As you close this chapter on Patti's journey, maybe you'll feel that spark she's carried since childhood, a reminder that we can all live a little more bravely, a little more tenderly, and a little more awake.